Hello, Mage fans, and welcome to Mage the podcast that works hard towards Ascension, so you don't have to. I'm your host, Adam. Have you heard the statistics about spiders? There's an almost 100% chance that right now, a few feet away, is a spider you can't see, scheming to pop out when you least expect it. I'd better stop there. I was trying to make my listeners uncomfortable, but it's working on me instead. Yes, today's topic is the Ananasi, the shape-shifting were-spiders of the world of darkness. This isn't directly a mage topic, as it pulls in material from Werewolf the Apocalypse, but I think there's a lot of interesting stuff there. Werewolf books give us lots of umbral locations, spirits, and player options that are more aware of the world mages live in. Vampires can't come out during the day and know basically nothing of the Umbra. Changelings stick to their own affairs, while wraiths have a hard time interacting with anyone who is alive. Some would say mixing were-spiders and mages is a crossover game. I'm not sure I agree. To me, a crossover game is when you have roughly the same number of player characters from different games, and the storyteller finds a blend or compromise of the main themes from those games. Pulling in were-creatures as NPCs or a single player character does require some knowledge of additional rules, but today I'll be discussing the topic from the point of view of a mage-focused game. The lure of troop-style play continues to catch my attention. Bringing in an Ananasi as a consort or Ananasi kinfolk as an acolyte is something I would enjoy in my games. The Ananasi started in 1993 in the first Werewolf Player's Guide. They are the only animal shapeshifter not associated with Gaia, the earth spirit. They are connected to the Weaver instead. As this is the first of a few episodes on were-creatures, it is a good place to discuss the Triat. I read the Book of the Weaver in preparation for this episode. Most listeners are World of Darkness fans and know the Triad well, but for those listeners who are new, let me give some explanation to ease you into the discussion. Werewolf the Apocalypse was created before Mage the Ascension started. It laid a lot of groundwork that seeped into Mage, even more than it did into Wraith or Changeling. The shape-shifting animal races agree on a common heritage and cosmology. Gaia, the Earth Mother, is the spiritual manifestation of planet Earth. The were-creatures, except for the Ananasi, believe Gaia created them to carry out sacred duties. The Triat is the three great spirits. They do not manifest physically. Even in the spirit realms, they do not appear for anyone. The Weaver is thought to be an immense spider. Its function is making chaos into order. The Wild is a formless cloud that generates new ideas, matter, and energy. The Worm is a colossal snake or dragon that originally broke things down for renewal, but is believed to have fallen from grace. It is now a force for corruption and total destruction, both on physical and ideological levels. In Mage, the Triad map to the metaphysic trinity of stasis, dynamism, and entropy. Mages who have heard of the Triad believe they are metaphors, where creatures believe they are actual spirits with personalities and goals. One thing to note here is the Triad do push their way into Mage's setting. The Shenty are three realms in the deep Umbra that manifest dynamism, stasis, and entropy. Portals to each of the Shenty can be found in the Umbra. Autothonia, mentioned in Iteration X books, is either in or connected to the Shenty of stasis. Dystopia, also called the Cyber Realm, is also connected to it. The Chasm, also called the Abyss, and Malpheus, the Realm of the Worm, are connected to the Shenty of entropy. The Radiance, also called the Flux, is connected to the Shenty of dynamism. Where creatures believe the Weaver and the Worm went wrong, while Gaia and the Wild are weaker than they should be. Mages believe concepts can be misunderstood, but they cannot go wrong. The Weaver, the Great Spider, is our focus today. Book of the Weaver states in two places the Weaver is the most powerful of the Triad. I'm not going to try to cover everything in Book of the Weaver, but I want to hit some highlights because they shed light on why Ananasi might choose to work with mages. Each of the Triad represent a number of concepts rolled into one. The Weaver is stasis, order, control, technology, modern society, an opposite to nature, all of these things. Different ideas are emphasized at different times, so don't expect Werewolf books to give you a consistent portrayal. As a whole, Werewolf the Apocalypse sees the Weaver as representing industrialization and urbanization. stasis, and order are in the mix, but not really primary. The main essence of the Weaver is 1. Technology used to oppose nature or its influence. 2. Technologies or systems used to control people or natural forces. That's the best summary I can give. In the Werewolf game, the Weaver's true goal is perfection frozen in place. Total stasis. This does link quite well to original depictions of the technocracy. Werewolf books depict the technocracy as serving the Weaver unwittingly. Mage First Edition and early Second Edition embraced the idea that faith in science and technology have gone too far. Sameness and uniformity are too strong in society. Let's talk about the pattern web. New Mage fans sometimes ask where in the Umbra the pattern web can be found. The digital web is said to be in it or perhaps border on it. The pattern web is from Werewolf books. It is a name for the metaphysical structure the Weaver created to allow the universe to hold together. It is not really a place. Regardless what side of the gauntlet you're on, the pattern web is everywhere. It manifests as a spider web in places where Weaver influence is strong. We're told it can be used to enter or leave the digital web and the dystopia realm. Werewolf books state the digital web is totally a Weaver place. Mage fans find that hard to swallow. I certainly do. Saying all high technology is Weaver territory may work in Werewolf games, but I can't apply that in Mage games. What storytellers need to know about the pattern web is this. In the Penumbra or other places in the Umbra, places associated with the Weaver will have a giant spider web stretching into the distance. It can be used to travel to other places associated with the Weaver, but it's high risk. Players can become trapped or get attacked by stasis spirits. If you want to leave the pattern web out of your Mage games, go for it. If you want to include it, you need to work out for yourself which places are actually associated with the Weaver and which aren't. Putting the pattern web in every high-tech place would be overkill. There are 3 incarna that serve the Weaver. An incarna is a large, powerful umbral spirit. They do not appear often in games and prefer to communicate through servants on the rare occasion that player characters are worthy of their notice. If an incarna were to manifest on the physical side of the gauntlet, it would be a major disturbance. Want to take New Jersey out of your setting? Have an incarna stop for tea? Mission accomplished. That actually sounds appealing. Anyways, the machine is the first of the Weaver's incarna. It represents computers and the internet. It is hinted it not only lives in the digital web, but is the digital web. It is nearing an awakening to full consciousness. This connects to vague passages in the 2 digital web books that the digital web may wake up and take charge of itself. The patriarch represents monotheistic religions. It is portrayed as a 100% negative influence. For all those who revere Islam, Judaism, or Christianity, sorry, you're a tool of evil. Don't get mad at me, I didn't write this. The science incarna represents all science. It is said to be falling under the power of the machine, meaning scientific inquiry in our world is being corrupted to serve government and industry. How cheery. We get Weaver Tech. Chapter 2 offers high-tech devices that the Weaver's servants, or mages with sticky fingers, can use. There's a magazine for guns that holds lots and lots of bullets. Boy, that's new. There are big guns. Every Technocracy sourcebook has lots of those, so pass. The metamorphosis inhibitor stops a were creature from shifting to another form. I've gone on record saying werewolves are way overpowered, so this device is recommended. The toroidal electromagnetic repulsor is an electromagnet so strong it can make bullets miss. I can see all sorts of uses for a super strong magnet in games. Give this one a look. Chapter 3 is beings who serve the Weaver. There are a number of spirits here you can use in the Umbra in your games. Werewolf Revised Edition states spirits cause aggravated damage when they make normal attacks, so the soldier spirits in this chapter don't have charms to make them dangerous. Keep that in mind when reading the descriptions. A lot of Weaver spirits look like spiders, but are not true spider spirits. They look like spiders, hang out on webs like spiders, get along well with anything that looks like a spider. Does that make them spider spirits? Kind of sounds like it. This one is up for debate. One of my complaints with this book is it never tells us what would actually happen if someone goes to the penumbra and starts killing Weaver spirits. Does that weaken the Weaver's influence? Does it make no difference? I want to know. I realize it would bring bigger Weaver spirits who would attack the troublemakers, but seriously, the question remains. If a coordinated effort is made to kill lots of Weaver spirits in an area repeatedly, what does that actually do? It seems believable to me technocrats would take notice of the penumbra at their facilities. If they see lots of spiders, they might decide to clean house. This is a World of Darkness crossover detail I haven't seen addressed. Net spiders, on page 70, are not allowed in my games. They are spirits that werewolves use to learn everything they want to know from computers anywhere. If these were in the World of Darkness, the Glasswalker tribe of werewolves would kick everyone else off the digital web and dismantle the technocracy. Godels are paradox spirits. Yeah, we get paradox spirits in this book. Why? Tell me why. What purpose does this serve? Who does this help? All it does is make it clear paradox spirits are associated with the Weaver. I think that brings up all kinds of questions that are impossible to resolve to the satisfaction of Mage fans, so I'm going to drop it. I'm going to leave that one lying there and just walk away. Drones are dedicated servants of the Weaver, like Fomori for the Worm. If you mix a Weaver spirit into a human body, they merge to become a drone with a capital D. I was initially excited to see a new consort option for my games, but this one isn't for me. Drones get powers and rapid healing, but they are locked in perfect stasis. They cannot gain any experience points. That makes it undesirable for players. Mages can be drones, but they never advance in skills or spheres. They become NPCs who cannot gain paradox and are allies of paradox spirits. There is a technocracy section, but it's a disappointment. We're told technocrats are devoted minions of the Weaver, yet don't know it. We get stats on a few typical technocrat NPCs, and we're done. I have very little of interest here, to be honest. There are 2 companies who serve the Weaver. Shinzui Industries is in East Asia. It operates in high-tech industries, but there are no details. We know it's a successful company, and several of its leaders are bound to the Weaver, but we get very little beyond that. It's more of a concept than a corporation you can drop into your games. DNA stands for Developmental Neogenetics Amalgamated. It's a medium-sized medical company that has discovered werewolves. DNA captures werewolves and is working on a drug to nullify the condition. There's lots of information on NPCs who work at DNA, but honestly, it's a smaller company that doesn't offer a whole lot to Mage games, although you may see more in it than I have. That wraps up my thoughts on the Weaver and what you'll find in Book of the Weaver. Let's get to the main topic, the Ananasi. The book of the same name from 2000 has the best information on them. I read passages from 5 other werewolf books. I'm going to share basic information on Ananasi biology, lore, and society before discussing how they can mix with mages and what they might bring to a game. As a podcast host, I should scour the World of Darkness books to bring you the most appropriate mage allies I can find. I gotta be honest, I proposed this episode because I think were-spiders are cool. A half-man, half-spider assailant hiding just under a building ledge, a mysterious stranger who melts into a cloud of spiders that disappears into cracks in the wall. If you don't think that's cool, you can stop listening to this episode right here. For years, the brief write-up in the 1993 Werewolf Player's Guide was all I knew about them. I brought in a group as NPCs who supported a nefandous, menacing Chicago in a game of mine. They worked well. The players thought they were creepy and tried to avoid them. The few fights that played out were nice additions to the chronicle. Now I've had time to do my reading, and my opinion hasn't changed. Whether allies or enemies, the physical stats, society, and powers of the spider people make them an option in my games. Ananasi have 4 forms: human, Lilian, Pithas, and Crawlerling. In human form, they appear normal, but medical examination, or sometimes close inspection, can reveal physical differences, small skeletal anomalies, places where spines are hidden, that sort of thing. Lilian is half human, half spider. They grow in size, have 8 limbs, and increased physical stats. This is their traditional combat form, but they can be just as effective in Pithas form, which is a giant spider. They are perhaps best known for their Crawlerling form. Most shapeshifters become a single animal, but the Ananasi became hundreds of small spiders. Ananasi are mutable. They can change their appearance in all their forms. Although they may have started life linked to a specific species of spider, that fades with time. They can choose to have a different face and general appearance as humans. They can also vary their appearance in all their other forms. The spiders they dine on influence their appearance if they don't make an attempt to look a certain way. They can even become a smaller number of larger spiders in crawlerling form. Great at parties. The Ananasi don't eat like true spiders. They drink blood. Like vampires, they can conceal the wound they make in a victim. The 1993 write-up stated they became ill if they eat solid food. In 1998, it changes. They became able to eat human food in human form. They can store a maximum of 10 blood points in their body. They lose 1 blood point per day. They can also spend blood points to heal, get an extra action in a turn, or fuel their gifts. Gifts are werewolf powers. If they are down to 0 blood points, they do not starve. They become lethargic and hungry, but they can continue on empty. Human food in human form or insect prey in crawlerling form will keep them going. They do not have a rage score like other were creatures. They are not harmed by silver like werewolves are. Ananasi mate with humans and spiders. They often allow others to raise their human offspring, but find them again during the teenage years. Spider offspring are left to fend for themselves for years. They must successfully survive while they make meals of other spiders as they grow to a large enough size to join the club. Early write-ups emphasize their desire to dwell in dark, underground places. Later write-ups don't contradict that, but don't emphasize it as much. Those Ananasi unfortunate enough to be captured often escape detection. Their blood has an even mix of iron-based and copper-based blood cells. Their blood also contains matter from the blood of their victims. Scientists and technocrats alike mistake the blood samples as contaminated and often throw them out. More observant technocrats may mistake the Ananasi for a vampire. Ananasi can live well over 100 years. They even know a technique to steal a human victim's body, allowing them to change identities while extending their life. Most cultures portray spiders as patient and remorseless hunters. The Ananasi have emotions like all people do, but they are weaker. They hold less influence over the spider race. As a result, Ananasi spend more time alone and are more calculating when they hear of danger to their non-Ananasi contacts and minions. Their traditions teach they were created by Queen Ananasa when the world was young. Queen Ananasa is a powerful spirit and the only child of the Weaver. The first Ananasi were inhuman spider creatures. Humans were brought into the lineage later. In those early times, Queen Ananasa went to question the Weaver on its erratic behavior. The Weaver was creating too much order, and many were concerned. The Weaver wasn't in a good mood and shoved Ananasa into a giant, flawless opal. Ananasa couldn't escape. The opal was handed off to the worm, who put it on a shelf in Malpheus. The worm told the Ananasi it would kill their queen if they didn't obey. After years of serving the worm, more than half the Ananasi started serving the wild in hopes it could free their queen. The Ananasi, still serving the worm, declared war on the rebels, and that conflict is still ongoing. Ananasi society requires some explanation. They are the only shapeshifting breed to serve all 3 members of the Triat. They have learned gifts from each of the Triat spirits. In the initial write-up, there were 2 factions. The Hatar serve the worm, while regular Ananasi serve the wild. That later changed to the 3 aspects. The Tener serve the weaver, the Hatar serve the worm, and the Kumoti serve the wild. All Ananasi have a firm sense of identity as Queen Ananasa's children, so even though they oppose each other with lethal force, they will aid members of other aspects when threatened by non-Ananasi. This cooperation against outsiders isn't perfect, but it usually wins out. The exception to the 3 aspects is the Kumo of East Asia. The Kumo, the Japanese word for spider, by the way, have broken away from Ananasi society. They serve the worm completely and recognize no common cause with other Ananasi. The Kumo have 3 families. The Blessed of Rati lean towards the wild as they serve the worm. The children of Naro lean towards the weaver. Marawa's brood is the 3rd family, and the only thing they lean into is mass murder. Each aspect divides into 3 factions. Myrmidons are soldiers, Viskers are wizards or shamans, Wierstas are questioners, not so different from the Ragabash of the werewolves. The 3 factions have unique names in each aspect, but I'm not going to overload my listeners with names. All shapeshifter breeds agree that Ananasi stand apart. The other were creatures aren't fond of them. Werewolves believe they should be killed off. Big surprise. The Ananasi do not have the rage trait and have no connection to Gaia or Luna. It isn't surprising that they call the other shapeshifters Ovid and believe there is no cultural or genetic connection. The Ananasi try to avoid other were-creatures and do not seek any cooperation. How can you work with someone who has less legs than you? I mean, seriously. Each Ananasi creates a Psyle, a spider den that exists simultaneously on Earth and in the Umbra. They recuperate there as well as commune with the spirit of their queen, who they petition for increases in rank and new gifts. If you want to bring the Ananasi into your games, the book Ananasi has all the details and the best selection of their gifts. The small spider illustrations scattered throughout the margins of the book kept catching the corner of my eye and creeping me out. A cheap trick, but effective. It made me smile. If you want the basics, any of the Werewolf Player's Guides will serve. Changing breeds for Werewolf 20 is fine. I want to handle some criticisms here. The authors of the book Ananasi put the details of what's really going on in a section at the back. The Weaver cannot create, only rework things. The only child ever created was Queen Ananasa, and she was a backup. If the Weaver ever ceased to be, Queen Ananasa has the same nature, so she could replace the Weaver. How Ananasa was able to create the Ananasi isn't explained. It doesn't fit well. As a result, you could have a story where the players discover the Ananasi and the ancient insect shifters, purportedly wiped out by the Ananasi in prehistoric times, were not created by Ananasa. They may have been created by Gaia or some other power. Queen Ananasa is supposed to be a powerful, distant spirit, but she is too accessible. She micromanages the Ananasi on a global scale. She is the only source of gifts or mystic advice. I realize this was done to isolate the Ananasi and open up the idea of a spider rebellion, but most people will not alter the werewolf setting, so this limits possibilities. It makes the world of the were-spiders very small. Why can't we get any current projects of the Ananasi? I know their queen keeps her secrets to herself, but we should have been given something about larger projects the Ananasi are pursuing. Players are completely on their own when it comes to advancing their queen's will. It's nice to give players room to devise their own goals, but this is so wide open, it's like asking people to solve a mystery with no hints at all. We hear the Ananasi have kinfolk, and that's it. Where are they mostly found? What kind of relationships do the spiders have with human kinfolk? How do human kinfolk interact with the kinfolk of other changing breeds? Are they required to be as secretive as their full-blooded spider cousins, or are human kinfolk kept ignorant of their nature? This is important information for Ananasi players. If you bring were-spiders into your game, you need to consider their powers. The werewolf books I read for this episode state all the types of magic are not creating something new. Magic alters elements already present and thus falls under the Weaver's influence. I think all Mage fans can take issue with that. It's too simplistic. The result is the Ananasi, as descendants of the Weaver, can nullify all kinds of magic and command paradox spirits. Viskers are the shaman class of Ananasi. They have gifts called minor, lesser, and greater unweaving that allow them to cancel werewolf gifts, hedge magic spells, and sphere effects. Basically, 1/3 of Ananasi can learn how to shut down all kinds of magic. Greater unweaving cancels powers of level 3 or lower. Sphere effects using level 4 or 5 are immune from greater unweaving. I would consider a ruling that unweaving gifts only cancel vulgar effects, not coincidental ones. If you ruled unweaving doesn't work on sphere magic at all, I can accept that. Shattering is a level 5 gift that, in the Ananasi book, allows a Visker to remove or weaken an enchantment placed on someone other than the caster. It works on level 5 sphere enchantments. In Changing Breeds for Werewolf 20, Shattering cancels all kinds of magic directly, up to level 5. I say use Shattering from the Ananasi book. Also, a level 1 Visker right lets them summon a paradox spirit to attack a mage. I would say this is only known by the Viskers who serve the Weaver, the Tenaire aspect, and I would make it a level 2 or 3 right. Also, if the mage is doing coincidental magic, the paradox spirit turns on the Visker. Mixing Ananasi into your mage games opens so many possibilities. They are not as physically powerful as werewolves and other shapeshifters. There is less concern of unbalancing your games. They have less extra actions and don't heal as fast as werewolves, so you get a lot of the cool stuff from shapeshifters, but in a more manageable package. An Ananasi bodyguard protecting a cabal of mages sounds like fun to me. Their webbing can be used to capture or immobilize NPCs. They can climb up to hard-to-reach places in a city. Their fearsome appearance in Lilian form could even be used to fool Pentex managers or Nefandi that the cabal is on the same side. Want to intimidate an NPC into talking? Don't roll intimidation. Have the Ananasi take Lilian form, lean in close, and say, "Give us a kiss." Mages warn each other to steer clear of werewolves, but there is no prevailing knowledge on were-spiders. Mages are free to see for themselves if they like working with them. Because of their association with the Weaver, they are more aware of mages, especially the Viskers. Ananasi recognize mages as good allies. Viskers can nullify sphere effects of 3 or lower, so they can function pretty well in a mage game. Other shapeshifters have a negative view of outsiders and a close-knit social structure. A werewolf wouldn't want to hang out with a mage because wizards are evil. Even if he did, his packmates would object or even attack the mages for enchanting their friend. Ananasi operate on a solitary basis, other than a few exceptions. If other Ananasi heard one of theirs was working closely with a mage, they would assume their guy is manipulating the mage to advance some goal. It's acceptable practice. A spider who spends a lot of time with mages does not suffer any stigma. The only people Ananasi have pressure to avoid are Korax and Nuisha. That's were-ravens and were-coyotes. Those two shapeshifter groups are constantly trying to uncover Ananasi secrets, so they are off-limits for team-ups. Another aid to cooperation is the reduced scope of Ananasi beliefs. Most were-creatures have a religious reverence for their totem spirits, Gaia, Luna, etc. Polluting a stream or burning a field can set off a werewolf. Ananasi revere their queen, but they don't talk about her to outsiders. Most activities or personal practices of a mage would not upset an Ananasi. Excessive use of technology, wearing leather, having relatives in New Jersey, none of these things bother the spider people. Even Gaia isn't holy. She's just some broad who gets a little high and mighty now and then. They don't even revere the Triat spirits. They're descended from the Weaver, but they work against it. I think the Ananasi work better with mages than any other shapeshifter. Some people would say the were-foxes of East Asia claim that title, others the Bastet. Feel free to disagree, but I'm going to keep saying I'm right on Twitter. So why would Ananasi want to work with mages? No bad history. The Ananasi are less emotional, less religious, and want to follow the original perfected Triat spirits rather than the current ones. This idealism pushes them closer to the mindset of mages. They know mages can do things they can't. Ananasi have trouble operating in Asia because of the Kumo, in India because of renegade Ananasi, and Australia because of a mysterious enemy there. A mage to watch their back while visiting those places would be most welcome. The questioner faction of the Kumoti aspect have taken to computers and the internet in a big way. Tech-savvy mages would be very helpful friends. These Ananasi have an interest in the digital web and can help mages work around pattern spider and net spider entities. A chronicle focused on Ananasi mage cooperation could challenge their queen's dominance of the Ananasi. According to the Ananasi authors, the truth is, Queen Ananasi is just as selfish and calculating as the Weaver. She is pushing many of her children into destructive worm influence to advance her schemes. She would have no problem sacrificing all of the Ananasi to increase her power. She isolates her children from totem spirits and other influences to keep them ignorant of her abuse. The situation is ripe for a spider rebellion. Discovering this and showing Ananasi the benefits of escaping their queen's grip would be a great story for your table. Why would mages want to work with monster people who melt into a cloud of crawly spiders when they tire of the conversation? When I put it that way, there had better be something in it for the mages. Ananasi have old agreements with the Mokole, the shape-shifting reptiles. Although they don't associate often, those agreements can get mages access to knowledge that is almost impossible to gain any other way. Ronald Clement is a signature character who is an architect. He designs buildings for Pentex and other large companies that give Ananasi advantages sneaking in, moving around, and fighting there. The books portray the Ananasi as having little connection to the Umbra or spirits. They retreat to their Siles where they wait for Queen Ananasa to call. That is too boring. I would say the Ananasi have their own preferred realms and spirit alliances. They could teach mages a lot about the Middle Umbra, things no other shapeshifter would know. The warriors of the Kumoti aspect work on controlling insect populations in different regions. This could bring them in contact with the Verbena, who may be practicing similar methods. Cooperation would benefit them both. The Kumoti aspect follow the wild and would have an easier time working with tradition or craft mages. If mages are having problems with werewolves or another type of shapeshifter, Ananasi could supply vital information. The Tenaire aspect follow the weaver and would be comfortable with technocrats. Similar outlooks on life would reduce friction between them. Would technocrats work with were-spiders? That really depends on how you handle the technocracy. The older depictions had them acknowledging technomagic was one kind of sphere magic. They knew supernatural things were real. I don't think it's unreasonable for a local group of these technocrats to see an advantage working with Ananasi and keeping it quiet from higher-ups. The newer depiction of the technocracy is cutting-edge scientists who don't believe in magic and may not believe in were-creatures. Even if they came across Ananasi, they would not want to work with them unless it was a crisis. In either case, void engineers operating far from headquarters in harsh environments would have little problem with capable allies. The Ananasi have strongholds in the forests of Latin America and sub-Saharan Africa. Teaming up with void engineer teams, Verbena or Dream Speakers, is not difficult to see. The Special Projects Division is a group inside the Syndicate that has become too involved with Pentex, for their own good. The rest of the Syndicate tried to hide it for a long time, and this situation might persist in your games. The Ananasi could help technocrats with muscle and intel on Pentex methods. The situation would motivate both groups to act. The Hatar is the aspect of the Ananasi that serve the worm. This book makes it clear they are suffering under the worm's direct influence. I could see a movement among the Hatar to focus on the ideal worm and break away from the corrupted worm. Such a group would make for a more appealing player option. The other possibility is this group would share a common viewpoint with the Euthanatos. They see the necessity of death and entropy. They accept the role of the executioner and saboteur. Their gifts would no doubt fascinate Euthanatos. Working together to nudge cosmic entropy back to the right track is what they both want. Just comparing notes on Umbral hangouts would make them want to spend more time together. Hatar that did not break away from the destructive worm, especially the Kumo of East Asia, would probably benefit from working with the Tok Fan. These sinister mages operate in Cambodia and surrounding countries. You'll find them on page 79 of Dragons of the East. Both bow to menacing beings from the darker corners of the Umbra. Their bloody practices make them naturals for a team-up. Some possible obstacles. There are several sects in the Celestial Chorus who hunt down supernatural threats to sleepers, such as the Knights of St. George, Sisters of Gabriel, and the Sons of Mithras. These groups may have experience fighting against the Hatar and Kumo factions. They may not know that some Ananasi are not threats. These militant choristers may object to Ananasi working with their peers in Mage society, at least until they learn the whole story of Ananasi society. I'm sure a chorister with a flaming sword and a penchant for killing monsters in dark alleyways would be more than willing to hear your explanation for why a spider monster should get a bunk down the hall for a few days. If I still can't convince you to bring the Ananasi into your games, picture this. A mage wearing a cowboy hat, riding a Pithos-formed giant spider into combat to defend a Horizon realm against Nephondus and his giant squid allies. If that doesn't appeal to you, I give up. I admit defeat. Well, those were some of my thoughts on cooperation between man and spider. A few assorted items remain. Ananasi sometimes take extended vacations by splitting up into many tiny spiders and living that way for months or even longer. They sometimes forget themselves. A mage who woke them up and reminded them of their duties would earn their gratitude. The Kumo of East Asia produce metis, but regular Ananasi don't. A metis is a shapeshifter with two shapeshifter parents. They have birth defects and suffer a stigma in shapeshifter society. The truth is, Queen Ananasa takes Ananasi metis and hides them away. They mature into creatures fearsome by Ananasi standards, which is saying something. This could well link to Ananasi fears of Padrone, mutated Ananasi that hunt their own and then hide away. Ananasa has her own assassination squad. The Kumo have mental and physical differences with regular Ananasi. The Kumo hate their cousins and kill them when they can. What Ananasi don't know is the Kumo did not remain in East Asia. They have spread across the globe and infiltrated Ananasi networks. Any mage who brought that information to the Ananasi would be rewarded. Finally, the entire body of published Ananasi material does not have one Spider-Man joke. I don't know how the editors managed to pull that off. I couldn't do it. I want to make a shout out here. When I started work on this episode, TL Webb said statistics prove every person is less than 10 feet away from a spider. Every time I sat down at my desk, I started looking for the spider. Thanks a lot, TL. If you want to join our conversations, drop by the Discord server for Mage the Podcast. We give insults, we distract each other. Sometimes we have constructive conversations, but no server is perfect. I hope you enjoyed this look at shape-shifting creatures from Werewolf the Apocalypse and how they might sneak into your Mage games. In the days ahead, I have 4 more of these episodes planned. I won't cover every were-creature, but I'm not the only host here at Mage the Podcast, so don't worry. Our crew can handle any challenge. If you have something to say, please contact us at magethepodcast@gmail.com with your questions, comments, or feedback. Subscribe to Mage the Podcast on iTunes, Google Play, TuneIn, and other aggregators. If you like the show, others might like it too, and if you leave a review of Mage the Podcast, it makes us more visible in their searches. You can follow us on Blue Sky, Mastodon, and Threads. The links are in the show notes. We're also on the web at magethepodcast.com. You can listen to past episodes there and see the complete show notes. We have a YouTube channel now where you can find our episodes. There's a link in the show notes, but you can also search YouTube for Mage the Podcast. You'll find us. This episode was greatly assisted by our executive producers, and I want to thank them now. Oracle Derek Semsick, Oracle Drunkdez, Oracle Jason Vines, Oracle Drawncap, Oracle Sean Gallagher, Oracle The Crew of Erebus, Oracle Christopher Phillips, Oracle Buck Gregory, Oracle Bad Company, Oracle Rebecca Poole, Oracle Spartacus, Archmaster Berto, Archmaster Brad of the Blue, Archmaster Dan Svensson, Archmaster Jeff Waugh, Archmaster Leroy Bryce, Archmaster Morgan Aaron, Archmaster Wolf Larison, Archmaster Glacial Indifference. He's not so bad once you get past the indifference. Guy Stewart, Bruno Texeira, Ben Bandelo, Jade Barroth, Morris Hopkins, James B., Jervis Johnson, EBG, George Lara, Will Vincent, Shartan, Kevin Fitzpatrick, Lauren Jensen, Tyler Bryan, Sev Nessus, Bubba the Pale One, Eric Schwenk, Starfish, Ambiversion, Ryan Stray, Lols and Stuff, Kathleen Halperin, Alexia, Patrick McNamara, Blaze Hebert, Daniel Scribner, Rob H., Ryan, Alex, Nikita Klaimanov, Leslie Weatherstone, Matthew Prohl, Andres S., Bryce Perry, Michael Parker, Jeremy Z., Melissa Krause, Ian Robertson, Curtis Hendricks, Sig, Manel Canos, Darren Hennessy, David Rowe, Jason Kennedy, Samuel Tobin, Nibero, Jenna F., Chris Kinner, Gray Trilug H., Daniel Cuppen, Ryan Kendi, Ia Bull, Stephen Carton. If you would like to become an executive producer for Mage the Podcast, it would help us keep producing episodes like this one. You would also become a part of our own council to discuss upcoming projects. The link in the show notes will get you started. Well, thanks everyone for listening. Until next time, truth until paradox, baby.